tested and in my data sample, I've seen that there are some days when it's volatile that you'll get maybe 4, 5, 6 trades, and they might be all winners, or they might, they might be 5 winners, 1 loser. Why would you stop? But this is why we do the back testing and test, because we want to know that has the potential of happening. So that tells us that, once you do go through, and if you log 3 losing trades, or if you trade the full session and you get all losers, like we had two losers here, so there's been some losers. You might find that, well, I don't really like having too many losers. It doesn't suit my personality and my trading style. And that's why we did the whole trading style and personality test, because we want to get a feel for how much risk you want to take. And that's why when we develop up the trade plan, once we finish our back testing, you and I are going to have a conversation about how much risk and where you want to sit as far as the circuit breaker, like how many trades you want to take, and what was the best result and what you feel comfortable taking. Does that all make sense? You can probably see now that there's a method to why we're doing this. It's really to get a feel for building your own personal trade plan, because guaranteed, Jim, Karen, Nick, Mark, James, Ron, everybody that is currently doing the testing, everyone's going to, David, everyone's going to trade differently. Everyone's going to sit in different little spots here. They'll have different winners, different losers. They'll get into the market. So that's why it's critical to customize it to your own specific needs. So getting back to that. So basically, if our first trade's a winner, then we keep going. And we'll go to our second trade. Now, our second trade is interesting because, let's have a look at our second trade. Our second trade's actually a loser. In at 88.42, out at 54. 88.54, we're out, so negative 12 there. Now, trade number 2 at 3. So trade number 2 set up there and just snuck at 404, sorry, 404 on that trade time. So we'll put that in, 404. Now, it went against us negative 22 before it stopped out, and it was a short. Did it go in our favour at all? And it wasn't a key level, was it? No, it wasn't. And did it go in our favour at all before it got knocked out? How many points did it go in our favour? It went 19 points in our favour. So that means that we need to, again, add it to the plus 10. It was plus 10, plus 14. And we didn't quite get 19, so then we go negative 12. So we didn't hit that target, so everything else is negative 12. Now this is where it gets interesting, because we give negative 12 value to each one of our cells now, but one of them, which is this one here, can only take one trade. So we need to take out of that column that because that's the same day, can only take one trade, have a winner, and then you're finished. So guys, does that make sense? Is that all clear, crystal clear? Pretty easy to follow. Obviously not a key level trade because it's nowhere near the whole number. Now what I want you to do is, if you've got any questions, feel free to type away. If you've got a question or a day that you want me to look at, that's what tonight's all about. Just checking the data. If you've got a day that you want me to have a look at, or you've got a specific question, I'm going to take you through the continuation trade, because that's an interesting one. Now the continuation trade is when we start the session, and hopefully I can find one. It's when we actually start the session and we get a setup that doesn't stop out. But let's use this as a hypothetical. All right, so here's our trade. Let's do this one here. Here's our trade set up here, say at 1 o'clock, and then we basically get a trade set up after. Let me find one here. Okay, here we go. So let's assume that this trade sets up, doesn't stop out, but it sets up before our trading time starts. So let's hypothetically say this is 1 o'clock here, and then our trade sets up there. Now, what we want to be able to do, this trade hasn't stopped out, so it's still a live trade. We want to be able to jump into the trade here during our session. So we're assuming that we're saying that this is our session time here, our session time. So anything in this area here is our session time. Now the trade's already started before, so we can't take that trade there, but what we want to do is be able to take a continuation trade. That's where it goes white, goes back to green, and then white again, and it needs to obviously print the support or resistance lines and reset again. So once that happens, now remember, it's not a second attempt because the trade hasn't stopped out. So we're recording these trades as continuation trades. So if that happens while you've got a session on, even if you got into a trade, now this is the important thing, if you're already in a trade at our start time, I would record all of the times that these go from green back to white or green back to cyan, because they are basically a continuation trade. It's where you get, here's another example, here's a trade setup, it doesn't stop out. So it doesn't stop out. So here we go, but it goes back to, so here's your initial trade, does not stop out, and it actually goes back to, loses its momentum. So we can say, well, that's a continuation trade, isn't it? Because we've got another form of resistance and we get back into the cyan. So what we're going to do is we're going to record these. Well, it's up to you. You can record these trades as continuation trades. You'll probably have to go back through your data and identify where those trades set up, or you can leave them, up to you. But I'm going to start recording them because I want to see how often this occurrence happens, because what this may allow us to do is actually allow us to add another contract to our trades with very minimal risk. So this is my first setup here. We lose a little bit of momentum, we get back into the trade here. That's a continuation trade. So here's my initial entry, which is a long, and then I've got a continuation trade. Nice little continuation setup, and we get a bit of a push up. And do we get another one? No, we don't. So then it goes into a short. So that's really the continuation look. So we'll pick out another example here. So here's our first trade sets up right there on the short, and we'll assume again that this is 2 o'clock, even it can be 2 o'clock before or after. There's our first trade. This isn't a continuation trade here because it's still on the same support line. So it's got to set up a new support line. So you can't really, the idea is that a continuation trade means that it's continued with forward momentum. This hasn't had any forward momentum. It's just what we call consolidating. So it's not really going anywhere at all. That's consolidation. So we're not going to add another contract or jump into a market here if it hasn't. You're going to record how far into the trade that it sets up. You can, James, you can record that, definitely. That's definitely a good idea, because what you can say there is you can start to measure that if the trade perhaps moves, say, 40 points and it sets up another trade, that might be too far for the trade to get in on a continuum. So that theory you've got there, I know where you're going with that one. You know, how far, I would definitely measure the distance between your initial entry and the continuation, because that's going to give you a benchmark for what is the optimal distance before you shouldn't take a continuation trade. It's not a bad comment. So I like that. So a little bit more testing, but definitely does give you a very powerful look at the strategy, because you're looking for a continuation trade. This isn't a continuation. You're waiting for the next level of support to set up, which is here. So here's your continuation trade there. Hasn't stopped out at all along the way. We get in again there, and then it runs down, doesn't run too far, then it gets into the long. There's the long trade. There's no continuation there. There's a short. So here's the short. This is another continuation trade, a short trade set up there. we get some initial sell, doesn't stop out, but then we get basically the continuation trade here because we've got another level of support. So there's our continuation trade there, and that eventually stops out there. So is everybody with me on the continuation trades? They're fairly easy to spot. You shouldn't really have too many troubles identifying, because once you break the color, the paint bar, then basically you're looking for a continuation trade. But the two criteria for a continuation trade is you need a break of the paint bar or the color, and you need another level of support or resistance to print. So you need to have your first print, and then you need to have a second red print here. This is perfect. So here's a continuation trade. There's the buy. There we get into the buy setup. Do we stop out? No, we don't. We just hold. So we move up, and then there's our next level of the trade. So then we get the continuation here. We jump in on that. That doesn't really go too far. So the two criteria we would be measuring is making sure we don't stop out, but also we want to measure how far and how profitable those continuation trades are, because you might find that if you log 20 or 30 of these continuation trades and they're negative, then it may not be worth logging anymore. You might find that they're very profitable and we should continue to have it all done and start putting our trade plan together. By that time we'll have got through a bit of the money management as well. So, and then it's just a case of setting up the simulators and starting to practice our trade setups once we've got our trade plan together. So this is really, this part of the testing is really, this really sets you up for a lot of the foundation work for, doing the trading and getting into it and really setting a really good level of confidence with your trading. Because once you understand and you've got the strategy down pat and you've customized it to your specific requirements, then you start to build a lot of confidence in what you're doing, and it's so critical to go through and manually test it. So that's really pivotal to you being successful as a trader. So, however, having said that, once you go through the 3 months testing, you'll be able to I'll start introducing you to the automated testing, which will be nice and easy, and I'll make it a lot easier. But that's about it for tonight. I just wanted to do a quick run through. If you've got questions, give me a call tomorrow. I'm pretty much here all day tomorrow. Quick update. We've actually got what we call the GMT Futures Facebook site. Now, the reason why we've put this together is so that we can quickly alert you to when there's something posted on Kajabi on the website. So if you go to gmtfutures.com, if you go to GMT Futures on Facebook, you can basically register or just log in, and that will give you member alerts. So if you're on that page or you have that page up, anytime I post anything in Kajabi or the website, I post an alert here. Like, let's go through some examples here for a second. Just a reminder that new trading session tonight, 8:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Great chance to ask questions. So I posted that onto the Facebook. Videos get posted there. But anytime if I upload anything to see ahead of Thursday's What's Hot update, I've posted some of the latest settings for you to add to your platform on best markets and systems, and that is on the members site. So you can jump on the members site and check so any posts I do, basically I'll alert you here, and you can go into Kajabi, so you're not just going in there and checking and there's nothing there. So it's just handy to get that alert come through on, and most of you have got iPhones or phones that will connect to Facebook. So if you have that as one of your favourites, and then at least you're getting alerted to when there's an update. Alright guys, that's about it for me. So I've got James's video uploaded for the TradeStation tips, so that's been put onto we'll catch you then. Otherwise, I will see you. We've got another training session tomorrow. Going to start taking people through, what are the markets that are really, really working, running well and running hot. And a good chance for you guys to jump in and have a look at that, because I'm going to talk about some of this testing I've been doing, and we'll talk about some of the testing we've been doing as a group as well. So thanks guys, and look forward to catching you tomorrow. Cheers.